All right, so we're just getting started on the pump house transformation right now. I've got my Clack settling tank drug in here, which, these two are like the big twins, I guess. But, when I go to actually start cutting this stuff loose and moving it around, it's going to be, obviously the whole house is going to have to go offline. I'm going to try to do as much as I can first. First, I'll shut off here on the back side of the tank, and I'll try to keep the house online as long as I can, but ultimately I'm going to have to, of course, cut that loose and cut down there at the floor to replumb where it goes out through the floor. But what I'm doing for today is just kind of trying to start dry fitting as much as I can, and kind of just start, preloading or whatever you want to call it, getting as much done as I can now ahead of time to get ready for whenever I do make the actual cuts and installs. So I've gone ahead and got my ball valve here for the blowdown put on the bottom of the tank. I'm going to try to go ahead and get my lines in and out of the tank, run down here on the side and teed over at the right height for the wellhead. If I can at least get that much done today, maybe I can get the other line, the outlet from the settling tank, run back around behind the pressure tank. But to do that, ultimately I'll have to pull these filters off the wall. So once I pull the filters off the wall, that's when this is going to have to get cut and moved. So yeah, I'm trying to plan it out and process it in my mind here, what's going to be the best. But like I said, for today, I think I'm just going to try to, like I said, try to at least get these two lines glued in and run down the side of the tank here to where they kind of need to be. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm hot, I'm tired, but yeah, just figured I'd make the little video here that I am getting started on it, so I'll try to make a video as we go to keep up with it. So back to work on the pump house here today. A couple days ago I made that little bit that I was just getting started trying to dry fit, so we got pretty much the whole thing still to do today. I haven't had a chance to get back on it, but I have just shut off water. I pressured up the tank here. The valve is still open to the house, so the house can still run off of that for right now. But otherwise I've shut off this valve back here, so we're isolated. The well is now, the breaker's off. The well, you can see I've cut it loose, it's wide open. So we're gonna go ahead and, I've cut my filters. My filters were mounted here on the wall. I cut those out real quick and got that out of the way. So now I'm gonna take this adapter fitting out of the brass there. That's an 1.25 inch thread to slip adapter. And we're gonna go ahead and start plumbing from there up here to the inlet on the tank. Okay. First leg in, we got her adapted over here, and then I had this had a little slightward downward run on it, but that's okay because of course you can just pick up on it, just tighten that thread a hair more. It still seems like it's got a little, with that coupling is loose right now, or that union's loose. If I pick up on it a little bit and tighten it up, then it straightens up pretty good. But I got ahead of myself and I put some glue up here in this fitting, and then got distracted. I have to work on something down here, and so then I had to really try to clean that fitting out real well with some solvent first, which may or may not have worked, but I don't feel like I got it shoved all the way up in as much as I like. I mean, it's over halfway in, so it's fine, but that's why it looks so sloppy, and I think that's why I've got a little bit of a sag in that horizontal line. I think this could have come up about another 1/4 inch, and that would have helped a lot, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. Once I tighten that union up, it's going to be good. So that leg's done. Now we're going to work from there, from the outlet around the back of the pressure tank, which, yeah, that's 1 inch. And And I really think I need to bleed the whole pressure tank down and take it completely out of here and reset it. So I'm going to run as much as I can for right now of this leg, and I'm going to come right back down. I'm going to try to bring it so I can bring it over behind this electrical line. So I'm going to bring it down about halfway here. Well, see, that'll be in the way of the filters. Maybe I can bring it down. Yeah, I can bring it down a lot lower. I can just take that clamp off down there. So I'm going to bring it back down to where it's basically almost the same as this one, but a little bit higher, to where it can run across the top here, I think. Because I want to put the filters on this wall when it's all said and done. That's what I was getting at. So the filters are going to end up going over here. So the water has to go from the settling tank around the back of the pressure tank. Oh man, I wish. See, the pressure tank has a top, but you can't, I don't think you can make it top fill because of the air pocket in here. Because yeah, I was like, man, it would have been really cool to go from the top of this tank to the top of that tank and have it run overhead, but I don't think that's going to work, and I can't go straight across with the top because then it hits the electrical panel. So yeah, I think I got to go, like I said, back down and around, which just sucks because it's hard to work in behind this tank, but I don't really see any other way to do it. And like I said, I'm trying to keep the tank online right now as long as I can. So yeah, let me start working from there down and around the back of the tank and at least get me over to here somewhere. And then whenever I have to turn to go down into this tank, I think that's when I'm going to have to bleed it down and yank it out of here. Okay, so we've gotten to a break point for today. Got the line coming from the well up into the top of the settling tank and then right back out of the settling tank down and over. You can see we put unions in here. There's also unions there on top of the settling tank, so if you do ever have to remove the settling tank for some reason, we'll be able to just take it out and clean it. And probably what I'll do at that time, if it's necessary, at the time to ever pull it out, I'll make a little just bypass basically here that I'll be able to splice in so that we can keep the water on in the house if needed, but I'm not going to do that today. Anyway, so coming out of the settling tank over, back around behind the pressure tank, down and in, ball valve here so that we can isolate the pressure tank, and then of course into the pressure tank. We went ahead and put a union there on the tank just for future use. If we ever have to pull that tank out, there should have been unions on in the first place. You know, I don't know that pressure tanks are ever really designed, like systems aren't really built for the tank to be pulled in and out, but given our issues with the silt, you know, kind of filling things up, which is not really filling things up, but just given the issue of silt, I'd like that optionality to be able to pull the tank out. So we went ahead and put a union in there. I did not have the parts and pieces to put the filters back in today, the actual, well, those filters, these filters. I didn't have the parts and pieces to put those back in today. I'll have to rebuild that whole filter manifold. But basically, it'll come out of the pressure tank here, and instead of turning and going straight into the house, it'll come back across the floor, it'll come up the wall, the filters are going to mount there, in and out through the filters, back down out to the house. Yes, I am sloppy mess. I like, you know, a colorful workspace, so I went ahead and early on I kicked over my bottle of primer to stain the floor purple, and just now I went ahead and dumped over my bottle of glue as well to give me a bright blue spot to look at. So, you know, I like to liven things up. But anyway, it's done for now. It's all glued up. We're letting it set. We'll give it about an hour to get a good initial cure on it, and then see about putting a little water through it to the house. But this was the part that I was really scared of, so I'm happy that it is. I'm happy that it's done now, at least as a start, like I said. So for right now, of course, that valve's open, doesn't matter. Right now, we're shut off to the house. The house, of course, is bled down and empty. The well's at 0. The pressure tank is at 0, as you would expect. We'll go ahead and turn this off and take our hose off. And like I said, now we're just waiting on glue to set, so we'll give it as much time as we think we can handle, really, to cure up. And then we'll come kick it on and let you know. Well, it's kind of dark in here because we got a storm going outside. It's actually only about 4:30, but it's dark outside, darkish. Anyway, So I just kicked the system back on. The glue fittings have been curing up now for about 2 hours, at least 2 hours, which the full cure is 24 hours. But we need some water in the house, so I'm going to go ahead and just test. I'm not going to go full pressure. I just want to see if I can get it up to 15 or 20 psi, and then I'll kick it off just enough that we can cook dinner and wash. So right now the settling tank here is filling up. As soon as I kicked it on, I had a leak there at that union. It was hand tight, but I had to throw some wrenches on it to get it torqued up a little bit more. And then it stopped leaking. Both my fittings up top there, both those swivels were also hand tight, but both were leaking. At least this one started leaking. It's the inlet. I don't think my tank is quite full yet to get up to the back one that's the outlet. So we're just kind of, like I said, letting the system fill, keeping up with it as it does. This tank is getting pretty full at this point. So like I said, I'm just starting to watch for a little bit of pressure to start building on the tank. It's showing here, but I don't think that's really registering yet. We're seeing 15 psi right now from the well, which seems awfully high. This line's still empty. It has, I can tell just by the weight, this one's still empty. So we're not seeing anything building yet, like I said. But just watching it around, I'm not going to make you guys sit here and wait with me the whole time. Just figured I'd tell you what I was doing right now. I don't see any leaks on any of the glued fittings, so that's always a plus. Use this Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue because it sets really, really fast. So, like I said, we're looking for about 20 psi. Is my goal, which I don't know. When it's showing 20 there on the well right now, but it's showing 5 on the tank, which is interesting. It's got to be just building the air pocket pressure right now. I bet I wonder if I crack this, if it'll... Oh, blowing a little water out, so I guess it's starting to build something. Oh yeah, this tank's building up. Getting a little bit of water down the bottom of it. Yeah, this one's starting to get water through it. You can tell by the temperature it's starting to cool off. So okay, yeah, look at that. We're up to 10. Cool. Build a little pressure in the tank. So I'm gonna turn this off so that I can be quick to kill the breaker if I have to. So it's doing this weird surging. You actually see the pressure gauge bouncing. And you can hear it up here in the tank still flashing. When this tank fills completely, it should go quiet, because this whole line should be charged with water all the way through. I'm trying to wrap my head around what this splashing, surging sound is. That's kind of odd. I don't know. I've seen about a 10 psi differential, which is usually what it's always been. I don't know. Interesting. Alright. We're at 20 psi on the tank here. 21, 22. It's equalized now. No, it hasn't. 30. See, that's odd. We have a 10 psi differential through the lines and it's static. It should equalize once it goes static. I don't know about these gauges. Anyway, I shut it off because that surging was just kind of bothering me. I don't know if the well pump just wanted to shut off. I've never heard it surge like that before. Anyway, we're going to crack this open and send water to the house. Maybe. Holy moly, this sucker's tight. And that's going to drop our system pressure. It ought to, because it's got to recharge the house. So we're going to let that go kind of slow for a second and let it charge the house back up, and then we will see where our pressure stabilizes, see if we need to kick it back on again. So we took it up, I had it up at 40. The tank is up to about 30 now. Still no leaks, but what's interesting is I'm knocking and that sounds like air. Now I'm trying to remember, I think it fills and goes down the outside of the tank and then up through the riser. So I'm trying to think if that makes sense, that you would have air pocket here but still be able to have fluid on the inner tube up and out. Maybe that does, but in my mind, this tank should always be completely flooded with water in the end because it has top inlet fill and ultimately top outlet fill. Whereas this tank, the pressure tank, has bottom inlet and outlet, so your top can always get an air pocket that can hold. I mean, that's how it's designed. So kind of interesting effect. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what's going on with it. But like I said, it's definitely pushed water through to this tank, no doubt, because I've built, you know, that's not just an air pocket because I opened the valve, and of course when I opened the valve to the house I heard it run water through. I guess I'm just going to go in the house and check for water. But it seems like it's pushing water through. It's just kind of a funny anomaly that to me it sounds hollow up top here. And maybe when the system really fully pressured up, this air pocket will go away. I don't really know. Or if this air pocket will try to stabilize with this air pocket. I'm really not sure. I couldn't find a lot of information on how to actually plumb this thing up, you know, correctly, as someone would say. The manufacturer wouldn't tell me anything. They're like, yep, here you go, just buy the tank, bud, have good luck. So yeah, I don't even know if I did this right as far as putting the settling tank before the pressure tank. I probably should have done it the other way, but I don't know. Whatever. We're going to see if it helps and even does anything. So a couple of things on the well this morning. So I got it all put back together yesterday, working fine. And last night I checked it, and I've got one little seep leak right here. Looks like I just didn't get quite enough glue on that fitting. So I shut it off overnight just in case that thing blew apart. Basically I pressured up the system, shut the valve, shut it off. You know, just so we had somebody to flush the toilet overnight or whatever. But I've got to cut this out today. I've got plenty of extra unions, so I'm going to just take, this is the, I guess what you'd call the female half or the ring half of this union on this side. So I've got spare unions. So I'm basically just going to cut this out, and then we'll put a coupling in here to replace this leaky elbow, and I'll replace that union at the same time. So big advantage of using unions there. This union fitting here, this is on that Clack tank topper. That's got O-rings in it, and you can see it seeping just a little bit only when the well pump kicks on. A little irritated by that, but like I said, it's just got O-rings in there, so unless I crimped one of those O-rings, there's not really anything I can do. You know, you don't want to tighten it down too much. That actually makes it leak worse. So I've just kind of been watching that. Like I said, I'm not worried about that blowing apart like a glued fitting could. It's just gonna, the leak may or may not just get worse, you know, or it might heal itself over time. Anyway, I've got to fix that elbow. And the other issue I've got to address is I got to figure out some way to vent this thing for future service, because right now it's shut off, and I've shut the ball valve back from the tank. So from this ball valve going backwards, back through the settling tank here, the pressure needs to be able to, I need to be able to bleed that pressure down to 0 in a safe manner. In the instance that I ever have to pull this tank out. There is a little knockout there on top. It's like a 1/4 inch MPT or something. There's a little knockout for a vent, so I could plumb in there and just put a small ball valve on it with a, you know, with a bleed line. That would vent pressure off the lines, or I can just stub in here anywhere along this line, and, you know, just put in like a, you know, 1.25 T with like a 3/4 inch outlet on the side, and then put a hose bib on it to hook a garden hose to and drain it down. Oh, I guess actually I could do it here too. I could just drain the pressure off through the blowdown valve actually. That would require, well, it shouldn't, let's see. It should not require me to bleed the whole system. If I crack the blowdown, it should pretty well drain that to 0 right away, I think. There should be a check valve, I would think, on the bottom of the well pump, but there's definitely no check valves in any of this. So maybe, let me see if I've got the fittings. Maybe I can go and put that glued on hose adapter on here and see. Maybe I'll just, that might be the best, is just bleed it down through the blowdown, because odds are if I'm messing with this system anyway, I'm going to be trying to flush that tank out anyway. So yeah, let me see about doing that. Yeah, whatever, there's water all over the floor. Let's do it right now and see what happens. Oh yeah, that'll work. Because it dropped that gauge 5 pounds just like that. Okay, so if I get that put on there, hook a hose to that, run it out the door, that'll be my pressure release on this system, and it'll be my pressure release, yeah, for future use. Pressure release for today and for future use. Okay, cool. Just got that piece put back in. You see there's our old piece there on the floor. It was leaking right here on top of this elbow. I mean, you can see there's just barely any evidence of glue. You know why, I don't know, because normally I lay it on so thick it goes everywhere. But anyway, so I basically just built, you know, the exact same piece. I had the union half, the elbow. So I pre-built all of this all the way through the coupling. And then came in here. I got my elbow and stuff put on the bottom there that I had mentioned for the blowdown. I didn't have any male hose adapters for PVC, but I had a bunch of females, so I figured, you know, what the heck, it's just a drain line. I don't really care. You know, convention would be that positive pressure side should be the male, but it's okay. I don't think I'm ever going to get confused and accidentally pump water into this tank, but I guess if I wanted to, I could. Anyway, so that's on there. So when I got ready, I pressured everything up to the tank. So you see the tank is still at 55, and then I shut my valve off back here. That isolates the tank to the house, so the house still has good pressure, operating pressure. Shut the valve off, opened the blowdown, which relieves pressure off the system everywhere upstream of that ball valve, and it worked, you know, fine. It let it down. I need to replace that gauge because it's catching and sticking. It's not operating smooth. But just released it out here, you know, onto the ground. Easy enough. Drained it down until the pressure there got to 0 or got down below 10. And then I went ahead and broke this union loose, got it backed out, made a mark, grabbed the Sawzall, made my cut, threw the new piece in. Lots and lots of glue. Threw the new piece in, hand threaded it for now just to let it set. So now we're going to let that cure up as long as we can, as long as we feel like we can run the house without any water anyway. Yeah, and then we'll come back out here and turn it on a pressure test. But yeah, like I said, I think I mentioned that this side right here on the Clack fitting, that O-ring's leaking a little bit, but not really a concern, so we'll see what I decide to do with it. But I had to get that one fixed because it was a pretty steady seep, and you know, like I said, it was a glued fitting, so it could turn loose at any time. So hopefully we got her fixed now. We'll find out. Well, here's the part where I admit to you guys once again that I'm a major putz and a bonehead. Just walked out here with the intention of turning the breaker back on and, you know, go ahead and pressure test the system. It's been a few hours since I glued up that fitting. And as I'm walking up to the pump house, I hear water running. And I'm like, well, that's strange. The water shouldn't be running. No, because when I walked out earlier, I didn't turn the dang breaker off. I could have swore I opened it up, looked up there, and was like, yep, it's off, good to go. No, it was on. So what happened, of course I had that valve closed. What happened was this tank got low, told the pump to kick on. The pump kicks up and immediately deadheads against this valve. And, you know, I don't know when it kicked on. I have no idea how long it's been running, but there's quite the river of water running out the backside of the building here. So it's probably been running for, I don't know, let's just say an hour. I have no idea. Maybe hopefully not that long, but point remains, running for a long time. So when the pump kicked on, it deadheaded against that valve, which means it would have pegged that gauge out over 100 psi, and that fitting, which was supposed to still be curing, blew apart. So phase 2, the breaker is now off. The fitting has been re-glued appropriately. It blew apart down here this time. It was leaking, well, it was leaking on there before, but it blew apart on the bottom side. So I took it out real quick. I drained the tank down just enough that it wasn't still spilling water out of that line. Took it apart, glued the dog crap out of it, you know, re-primed everything with primer, laid the glue on nice and thick. You see there's plenty oozing out of there. Slapped it back in there. So now we restart the clock. We're going to give it at least an hour to get a light cure. But now the house is out of pressure. So now we're without water in the house. We have nothing on reserve. So time to cut back.